Welcome back to another edition of Inside BBI with John and Eric. I'm John McDevitt, and with me, as always, senior editor of Big Blue Interactive, Mr. Eric Kennedy. And bazinga, here we are. People can rest now. Jameis Winston has signed his contract.
Yeah, we can stop the national emergency or whatever. Where is he? Why isn't he signed?
It was getting weird. It was almost like a presidential thing. Where did the president? No.
Yeah, I know. Well, as soon as I saw he was out of the country, which you and I were saying he's probably on vacation. He's probably, and then you said he was on some.
He's doing a NFLPA golf tournament thing.
Right.
He was covering it.
And then I saw he was in Mexico. So he's there. He's signed. Everyone has signed. So that's all good. And he made an appearance today. Press conference. We can talk about that if you want. And then, of course, Joe Schoen, they released a Q&A with Giants.com. That was a little bit interesting. And then he addressed the media informally at the owners meeting today. And I think Brian Dable's addressing the media informally tomorrow. So there were a few things that came out of the meeting with the media today that we can talk about. I mean, nothing major, but there were things that you and I have talked about before that will shed some light on things.
So we're going to cover that here real quick, and then coming up in a little bit, we have a special guest, Jason Brant from So Bad It's Good, from Final Guys. It's a horror podcast, and he's also an author, but he's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, a little bit of football. So I thought we want to just add some stuff beyond just the basic Giant stuff, which we talk over and over and over and over again. Thought I'd bring a little flavor. We'll get to that in a little bit. So Jameis Winston signed. Before we get into like the specifics of his press conference, the overall piece of where the Giants are sitting now cap-wise with all these guys are signed, it put the Giants kind of very tight again to the cap. We talked about this before. The Giants have a lot of leeway with Andrew Thomas, with Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns. I've got to assume, and I think you're probably in the same boat here, got to assume the Giants are going to do something with at least one of those guys, if not release maybe somebody like Nunez Roches or even Gano if they wanted to, because that'll free up money. But big moves in cap space, it's really those three guys that we're going to have to work with.
Probably, yeah. And again, people who cover the cap far deeper than I do always say don't fret so much about the cap. But I look at it and I'm always wondering, how the heck are we always so tight against the cap, and yet we're one of the worst teams in the NFL? It's a little bit frustrating. I know they can move money around, they can do void years, they can do all this stuff. I understand that. It's just a little bit frustrating. And we're not spending a lot of money on quarterbacks, even with the two that we signed. So they're the same price basically as Daniel Jones in Indianapolis is. So we're not spending a lot of money there. So we'll see how this plays out next year. I did notice that looking at, and I haven't done a deep dive into this, but I did notice that with some of the contracts, they go up pretty significantly next year. So you and I were talking in an earlier episode that they'll have way more cap room next year. Well, some of these contracts are going to, take some of that big pile of money that we thought they were going to have. Some of that is going to go away, given the guys that they've signed now. But Shane talked about this today. He thinks that they have the basis of a team that's fairly young and will be together now for a number of years. He seems they're under a contract. He says, and especially on defense, they're young. There's a nucleus. He believes that'll be together there for a while.
So Jameis's comments, I think we can get to in just a second. Let's stick with Joe Schoen then.
Sure.
What did you take from the bulk of what he said today? The feeling that you see a lot of beat writers post is that it seems like that he laid the foundation to not draft a quarterback at 3, and in some ways hinted that his 22 or 23 drafts were really driven by need versus best player, which is more the process that they want to follow. So your thoughts on what he said about that?
That sounds like excuse making.
Isn't it though?
Yeah, that sounds like the 2022. That just sounds like excuse making. If you think you're coming into a rebuilding situation, you don't worry about that as much. If you're worried about competing right away, then you worry about filling need. I thought that was a cop out. I also didn't. Again, I have not seen a video yet of Shane and Dan Duggan was the one who said you had to listen to how he said it, not just what he said to get that vibe. So I have not. I've only read the transcript. I've been looking for the video. I haven't seen it yet. Um, Reading the transcript, I don't think quarterback's off the table. He simply said, and again, if you're Joe Schoen, you don't want to, and you do want a quarterback, you don't want teams thinking you want to get a quarterback. So the way I read it was him basically saying, if we draft a quarterback, we want to make sure he checks all the boxes.
Right.
Which is what that's just to me that wasn't the interesting all the quarterback stuff he said wasn't interesting to me, other than the fact that he did mention that Russell Wilson will be the starting quarterback when OTAs begin. So I wondered if they were going to maybe have a little bit of an open competition in the beginning. That doesn't mean to me. I mean, again, if we're betting, Russell Wilson's going to be the starting quarterback on opening day.
Sure.
But I still, what if Jameis looks really, really good all summer? I hope they open the door for him. But that being said, he did say he's our starting quarterback when spring starts. He said other interesting things, but in terms of the quarterback stuff, I don't know if you caught anything with the quarterbacks, but that was the only.
Yeah, that seemed. I took right away, or the impression that I got right away was just what you said. We're just talking about right now. I'm not talking about training camp.
Right,
I'm not even
right.
for right now. This is what we're doing. And it makes sense that clearly the contract's designed that he would be the starter. Winston is signed for 2 years, less money. He possibly could be the starter, but that's not their plan at the moment. But we haven't been to camp. But there will be Giants fans who will instantly go, see, he just said there's not going to be an open competition. He said he's the starter. That's not what he said. He just said for the OTAs, which, by the way, the OTAs mean absolutely nothing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the bulk
but
of
he is going in as the number one guy. I mean, there is some significance.
Sure.
They're not going to alternate these guys to start off with.
Did you get the impression listening to Winston that he understood that was kind of the way he knew what he was coming in, that he might compete for, that he could compete for it, but that he may have other roles and he's done them before. He kind of said he knew what his role was going to be. And I got the impression that he knew you're going to have a place to play for it. But this other guy is kind of, we're bringing him in with the intention that he should be the guy. That's kind of what I got from him.
I think Jameis played the good soldier today. He said all the right things. Now Shane did say, and Jameis confirmed it, that he knew they were talking to other quarterbacks, and so he said he wasn't, at least publicly, he wasn't upset about that. You and I wondered, did they tell Jameis that they were bringing in another quarterback? And Shane, at least publicly too, said yes, he knew that. So if they're telling the truth, both of them, and we have no reason to doubt them, then we can take that up. We can take that off the table. So Jameis kind of knew he was coming into a situation that wasn't ideal for him. But I thought his interview, I thought his Q&A today was interesting. I thought, he got really dressed up. He looked very professional. He came across to me, for someone who's been in the league a long time, he came across a little nervous to me. I think he was a little nervous. Happy. Yeah. He was pleasant. But he seemed a little bit. He wasn't as polished as Russell Wilson was. Russell Wilson almost comes across too polished to me, and Jameis came across more genuine to me, but also just a little bit nervous. I think, again, New York is a little bit different. He may not have been used to having that many reporters online talking to him in March. That might have been something different to him. It's not like Cleveland, where they probably had 3 guys talk to him when he signed there.
Right.
So he seemed to, when I say nervous, he just seemed as at ease as Russell Wilson did, but nothing bad. He seemed, and I thought he did a good job, and he said all the right things. I think they're both now competing to know how many names they can name on the Giants roster, because they both have now thrown out guys you wouldn't even think that they would even can even remember their names.
Right.
They both, both of them have mentioned Greg Van Roten already. So that's kind of weird. And Jalen Hyatt. Field. Well,
you definitely want to drop names that people are going to be blocking for you.
Yeah.
I'll say this, and again, it's a topic we don't talk about, but that arena, Russell comes off as a borderline future politician.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
Kyle Brandt showed a series of Kyle Brandt from Good Morning Football showed a series of videos of
Yes.
Russell at different times with other teams and introductions. And it was, thank you. It was a canned response. Really, it was very planned out, very like a prepared speech sort of thing, naming guys, saying the thing. And when you see it again, it's basically the same thing all over again, different team, different player names, but the pattern, the inflection, the way it was being
Yes.
said,
It was rehearsed. It
it
sounded
is
rehearsed.
exactly. This
Yeah.
is a canned
Yeah.
presentation. Take for whatever you want from that. I don't know what that's going to mean or not mean on the field, but it definitely came off kind of less than genuine.
Yes.
After you see those other things, you're like, oh, kind of that's a little disappointing.
And I don't want people to out there who are watching this to think, oh, come on, John and Eric are not going to rail
Bash him,
against this guy.
yeah,
That's not what I'm trying to do. I just there have been issues. Russell's had issues in Seattle, Denver, and Pittsburgh. Well, not so much in Pittsburgh, but at least Seattle and Denver. And well, the players didn't have anything bad to say, at least publicly, about him in Pittsburgh. But again, they didn't try to resign him. So part of me wonders, is this part of the problem that he doesn't come across genuine? And is he too rehearsed? Are the players picking up on that he's not authentic? I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about his background. So I'm gonna be brutally honest here, and some people are gonna say this is pathetic. I don't Personality wise, I didn't know that much about either of these guys until I just listened to them as Giants for the first time. I've seen them interviewed before, but I didn't pay
sure,
a whole heck of a lot of attention to them. You saw
right.
snippets, on Sports Center or whatever, but I never really listened to a 20-minute interview they gave with the media, so I never had any real sort of feel for their personalities. Um, Russell Wilson shtick got a little old with me right away. I thought right off the bat, I said, "Wow, he really sounds good. He's very impressive, and he knows these guys." And again, I'm not trying to minimize that, but it just like you said, it sounded rehearsed.
Yeah,
And I thought Winston, other than again trying to compete with the name calling here, like I know, he called Jalen Hyatt a superstar, emerging superstar. It sounded like he was trying to compete there, but I thought he came off more authentic. But he also was a little better coached in not saying the wrong thing. He played good soldier. But he seemed really happy. I mean, the one thing I'll say about Jameis Winston, he's a happy dude.
sure, yes.
He just seems content with himself where he is in his life. So
The question will be how much does Russell inspire people when you need to? And I don't mean
yeah,
just with his play. Sometimes if your play is struggling, you
right,
need that personality that other people are looking to help pick you up.
yeah,
But if your personality is one where a lot of the guys on the team kind of think you're more of you sounded great in front of the cameras, then in the locker room, you're over by yourself, you're not really interacting with other people. That tends to performance immediately goes and guys start backing off going, what you doing? Jameis is kind of the other way around. I think guys will rally around him because he's just going to keep people upbeat. If they're down, he's going to keep them upbeat. If he's down, other guys are going to try to help him out a little bit. They're going to be like, we got this, don't worry about it, that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see. Russell has a lot to prove. I mean, his play has declined. He still has, and again, it is still better than anything we've had in the last
oh
X number
yeah,
of
and that's where I
years.
was going to go with this next. There's going to be a tension. First of all, this could go ugly for the Giants for what I've mentioned earlier. They could have imported a quarterback controversy here, so they may
Right.
want Russell to start. But if Winston, like you just said, if Winston sort of relates better with the players, and the play is similar or even better, then again, you and I are old enough to remember what a real quarterback controversy
Sure.
looks like. We know we've been through that. We know a lot of Giants fans don't know what they do that because the Giants have gone through a long period where they've got the designated guy and no one was going to even remotely compete with that person. And in most cases, that was acceptable because you were talking about Eli Manning, you were talking about Phil Simms, but even Phil Simms went through with Hostetler,
Right. Right.
Kerry Collins when he was there. And we went through Daniel Jones, who nobody was going to be allowed to compete with him. They should have been. I mean, Russell Wilson should have been here last year competing with Daniel Jones, but they didn't go that route. But
Well, and And what have we seen over the years? Who's the most popular player on the team?
The
That's
backup
the
quarterback.
backup quarterback.
Backup
You
quarterback.
know, as soon as you struggle, they're like, get him out of there.
So the question is your spidey sense is right, and you think that there might be an authenticity problem. That's still okay, much better than having a Daniel Jones Daniel
Right.
Jones problem.
Right.
So the players still. I mean, remember that this is a team that has not had and players that have not been playing with a good quarterback that they believe in. So I'm sorry if that offends people out there who like Daniel Jones, but
Right.
there's no way in hell that the people on this roster believe Daniel Jones was going to win the game for them when the game was on the line. That confidence wasn't there. Russell Wilson, say what you will about him, if the game's close, he can win the game in the fourth quarter. He's that kind of guy. So,
Right. Right.
so
Well,
we'll
so
see.
we'll see. Now, the other thing that came out, or at least I just saw a little while ago, um, there's been talk now that the Giants have been spending a lot of time with Jackson Dart over the last couple of weeks. Now, I'm not really sure where that's coming from. Where are they spending this time with him?
Well, they better be. I mean, they should be spending time with all these quarterbacks. I
Well, I
don't.
agree, but
Yeah.
do you mean spending time on him? I doubt you've, other than going to the pro day, when else have you been seeing him? Because you've been down in Miami, you've been doing some of this other stuff, you've been
Right.
big into free agency. I think maybe a little more is leaking out that the Giants have been doing a lot of homework on him. So
Well, that
other
was coming from Jordan too, wasn't it?
that
Wasn't it Jordan who
I
said,
believe so,
"Yeah, let's
yes.
not." I mean, again, they should be doing a ton of homework on all the quarterbacks, just like they did last year. And so when somebody says they're doing a lot of homework on Jackson Dart, I'm like, well, duh. I mean,
Right, right.
they bet. So I that kind of thing. I'm like, that's just to me. That's clickbait to me. That to me, that's just. That would be more telling if somebody said they're not interested in Jalen Milroe. I mean, that to me is news. That would be, but somebody saying they're really doing a lot of homework on the quarterback, that to me is just background noise.
So something you've been saying that I discounted slightly, that I think you might have been onto it in the first place. The Browns came out today, right? They were, I believe it was today, and Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns, essentially admitted they took a swing and missed a big time with Deshaun Watson.
Yes, I saw that.
That, the way he phrased it, wasn't like we haven't seen the results we were hoping and he's injured this year. We're hoping next year. It was literally, we swung, we missed, we made a mistake. That falls with he and his wife, Dee. They're the ultimate deciders. Does that now reinforce your point that maybe what they were telling Myles Garrett all along was we're going to take one of the two quarterbacks at the top? It's starting to look that way.
I don't know because, like you said, why would a vet of his stature get overly excited about a rookie quarterback coming in here and fixing the problem? I think he was referencing Shador, but
Right.
your reaction immediately was, which was a good one, was, well, how can you get too excited about a rookie? I mean, even though it was Jaden Daniels before he became a Commander, you didn't know Jaden Daniels was going to have. No one knew Jaden Daniels was going to have that kind of season. So I don't discount him at 2. I'm higher on Shador than most people, but if I'm wrong, the Cleveland may save the Giants from themselves here too. So I don't still buy anything that Shane said today will seem to indicate anything one way or the other. He doesn't want to reveal his cards one way or the other. So the things I thought he said that were interesting today were this. I just want to throw these out here.
Sure.
Before we have our guest out here, but he said that because we wondered about this too. He said Brian Dable's not going to any of the pro days, and the only reason he did that last year was because Jaden Daniels didn't do a private meeting with them. So we shouldn't read too much about Dable not going to these pro days, which you and I were curious about that.
Yeah.
He said that Darius Slayton, they tried to renew him during the bye last year. That was new to me.
Shocking.
And that was new to me. And then the other thing that I thought was really interesting is for the first time, a Giants official has said they're thinking about moving Evan Neal to guard and that Evan's open to that. So everybody
it's like, what's his option?
What?
Like, what's his option?
Well,
say no.
But that's the first. But they were in denial before.
No, you're right. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
So, but today was the first time now they didn't say he's going to do it, but that was the first time we saw Dable or Shane say, we're open to it. He's open to it. They're thinking about it. So I thought those were the more interesting things that came out
I
today.
think it's funny that they talk about Neal being open to it, but I
Yeah.
guess in some ways you're letting him save face, right? You're not
Yeah.
saying we're moving him to guard. He's going to be, you either win there or you're out of here. They're saying we're thinking about moving him to guard and he's open to doing that. So it's a nice way of the Giants to say it, because the next big negative thing that is going to come up is they're not going to pick up his fifth-year option. I will
Right.
be
Right.
shocked if they do. I think it's pretty much guaranteed they're not going to.
Right.
Tibbs, they will. That seems obvious that they're going to pick up Tibbs's option. But Neal's, there's no way. And guard, like you said, this is his last chance to do something.
Yeah. And well, they got to get buy-in from the player. So it's good if he's truly open to it. You want the player to buy into it. So if Evan Neal was like, F this, I don't want to play guard. But I'm going to do what they want, but I don't want to do this. I can't wait to get out of here, that kind of thing. So it's better for him to be invested in it. The worst possible news that we could hear out of Evan Neal, because in OTAs, you don't do there's no contact. So the offensive line the only thing you get out of the offensive line in OTAs is who's lining up where.
Right.
That's all you get out of that.
Yeah.
The worst thing we could hear from him in the spring or summer is he's hurt again. Because he's always hurt. So if he shows up in the spring and he's not practicing because he's hurt, or he gets into the training camp and he's on the PUP list or something, that'll be, to me, that'll be his death knell. He cannot. It's not just he's got to play well. He's got to stop getting hurt, because I think the two are actually tied together. I think a lot of his negative play has been tied to the fact he's never been completely healthy from the waist down. He's always had some kind of lower body issue that prevents him from the hip, the ankle, whatever. He's had something that's kept him from performing his best. So
there's that old line from the movie The Program. Are you hurt or are you injured? We're having a really bad thunderstorm right now, so just FYI, if something happens, that's why. We had warnings
earlier
today.
Jason Brant and his horse.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah. So if you're hurt, you're injured. But we know that Neal was injured a lot longer than was expected into the offseason. And they never really came out and said how bad his ankle was. And it lasted into training camp. There's a good possibility that a guy his size is never going to really be fully healthy again with ankles, where being out on an island at tackle is almost impossible. Right. Now, you're trying to do the reclamation project. We've talked about this multiple times. The William Roberts move from tackle to guard. It's not as easy as it sounds, though, because, again, you've got some of his issues are still body positioning. It's getting his weight over his feet. He's not being able to change direction. You're confined a little bit as a guard between the center and the tackle, and that helps somewhat. But as things move out, or as you have to move, those issues will be there. So the Giants have to find a way to maximize, because he does have massive size and he is a big time run blocker. If you can get anything out of him, that legitimately could change the face of your offensive line.
Oh, God, yes.
So
imagine if Evan Neal turns into a monster right guard that run blocks like crazy. And he put him next to Luminor, and that would help maybe Schmitz. I mean, if he turned into a stud right guard, that could change everything on the offensive line. But it was interesting, too, is Shane singled out how important Greg Van Roten. That was one that you got right and I got wrong. I was like, they're not going to re-sign Greg Van Roten. And you were like, well, I'm not so sure. And today Shane's saying how important he is in terms of locker room leadership and all of that. So, and we talked about he can play center and all of that. So that was one where you were like, they could bring back Greg Van Roten. And I was like, yeah, why?
I think there's something to be said about a little bit. Injuries really killed it as the season went on. But early on, and you were big to point this out. So, but we'll come back to. I'm going to take a break because we actually have our guest. So we'll take a break, and we'll be right back. All right. Well, we're back with Inside BBI with John and Eric, and we have a special guest, author, host of multiple podcast channels, including The Final Guys and my favorite SBIG, So Bad It's Good, Mr. Jason Brant. So, Jason, first off, thank you for coming on the show. I know it's not exactly related to bad movies, but if you're a Giants fan, it's pretty much been a bad movie for about 10 years. So thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm just happy you guys finally decided to have a Giants expert on your channel. So
Nice. Yes. So what's really funny about all this stuff is like, so I got introduced to your channel a couple of years ago. A friend of mine at work we joked about how much we can't stand Steven Seagal, and he sends me this link. He goes, "You got to see these guys," and it was Sniper Special Ops. so right there, that's how I was introduced to you, and I was hooked at that point of watching that. I mean, the Seagal stuff was just great. But what I think is funny is you have so many different pieces with the movies, but people that you have and kind of the backgrounds and the knowledge. You first off are like I don't know. You are a B movie actor savant. You're like, oh, I saw that guy. He was the third guy in this. The fact that you did, and I can't remember the name of the ninja movie. It's the one where you looked at the guy and you're like, wait, I've seen him before. He's the general from Die Hard 2. And I looked at him going, holy shit, how did you know that? That's amazing.
I have one talent, and it's recognizing actors in B movies. I'm shit at everything else, but I'm pretty good at that.
So I have to ask you this, because this is definitely football rated. How did you get Ben Roethlisberger to come over and do the movies with you?
Well, first of all, am I allowed to swear in here?
Yes.
We do all the time.
Yes, we do it all the time.
You may have noticed I'm fairly vulgar, so. Well, Ben is a fan of bad movies, and he reached out. Actually, I'm just kidding. That's my friend Kyle from college. He just looks a lot like Ben Roethlisberger.
I'm like, that is the.
He looks like him.
He looks exactly like him.
Wait, John, did you get?
I did.
Oh my God!
I'm so bad.
To be fair, I didn't call him by his name the entire episode. Anytime we did, I cut it out. And the only mention of him being Kyle is in the credits at the end of the episode. That's
Damn it.
So there were a ton of people that were like, how the hell did you pull this off?
Yeah.
I didn't. There's no chance in hell. But people think he's Ben Roethlisberger so much. We were in Vegas one time at a swimming pool, and this dude just yells over at him, hey, Ben. And Kyle's just like, hey, man. Just keeps going. He really does look
he looks exact. I'm like, yeah, I haven't seen Ben in a while. I mean, he looks just like Ben. I'm like, okay, so that's on me. So
just an old college buddy.
Well, I was at a party once in New Jersey back in the early '90s, and my fiance at the time had taken me there, and it was in Clifton, and we were and she left me and was hanging out with the girls, and there were a bunch of guys in the room hanging out drinking beer, and I was talking to this one guy, and he knew so much about football, and he and I were talking about it all night long. And I was thinking, I know so much. I'm the expert. And my fiance comes in and says, aren't you the guy that plays for the Steelers? And I'm thinking, what is this? Is he the kicker or something? And I go, who are you? And he goes, I'm Neil O'Donnell. I'm the quarterback. I'm the quarterback of the Steelers. And here I was talking shit all night about football and how smart I was, and then he's the quarterback of the Steelers.
Oh my God.
Well, it was Neil O'Donnell, so I mean, there's a pass to be given there.
Yeah,
that has to be tough for football players in particular, because the game is so complex, and there's so much. Like, if you're just watching the game, I can't tell where the hell the safeties are.
Right.
I can't tell if the cornerback's in tight coverage watching the game, but I'm still at the bar like, you piece of shit. And I don't know what's going on, but if he was sitting beside me, I'd be trashing him. He'd be like, this guy has no clue what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Well, that happens. So anyway, I fell for that one. So that's Kyle, who was off to the side while you were doing that lovely David Keith, Robert Hayes, Pam Anderson movie where you were trying to figure out who Robert Hayes was. And he goes, that's the pilot. Yes. Oh my God. By the way, that movie is like, holy shit. So anyway, very, very interesting. But so we'll talk a little football real quick. You guys had Russell Wilson last year, and we are now blessed with Russell Wilson. How was the Russell Wilson experience for you as a Steelers fan last year?
Well, he got hurt because he, has a case of the olds. He got hurt in training camp. Missed, I think, 6 games. Came back, looked pretty good for, I think, 5 or 6 weeks in a row. And then just the wheels just exploded off the bus. And the Steelers careened into the playoffs and crashed and burned on entry. So he went from like hero of the city to get him the hell out of here in a 6-week span. It was pretty incredible. So, but again, it looked to me like he was playing very poorly on TV, but maybe he wasn't throwing it because nobody's open. I don't know what the deal was, but that dude held the ball for a long time.
Right.
Took a lot of shit sacks.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It honestly, it looked to me too like he was still trying to rely on athleticism that
Hmm.
Father Time has zapped a bit.
Right.
But his deep ball is still super money. He still has a cannon of a freaking arm. So I don't know. You know, I don't know if it's offensive coordinator. I don't know if he's old, all
No,
the
the
above.
yeah, the book on him has always kind of been he's got that beautiful deep ball left, deep ball right, the moon ball, but
Yeah.
he doesn't like to throw the ball over the middle of the field. And like you just mentioned, and it was a real smart comment by you, is in his heyday, he used to use his feet to move around, but his father time has caught up to him. That doesn't work so well anymore.
Yeah.
So he holds on the ball too long, he takes too many sacks. So
He fumbled the ball on the goal line last year. He was running out of the pocket and just decided to go for it and somehow juked himself into a tackle that he then fumbled from.
yeah.
I was like, okay, that's how you know you're old. Like,
Nice.
like you would have if you'd gone right, you'd have been fine, and you thought you were going to do some move and like broke your old man hip or something.
Nice.
Do you have any reaction to because we went through this as Giants fans. We were flirting with Aaron Rodgers, and it's between the Giants and the Steelers. And what I noticed with our fan base was, again, it was sort of the best of a bunch of bad options. But as time went on and Aaron would not make his decision and still has not made his decision, I noticed the fan base was like, enough with this guy. It's time to move on. It actually seems like one or two of the Steeler players in podcasts lately have sort of said, you either want to be a Steeler or you don't. Make up your mind, basically shit or get off the pot.
Yep.
Do you feel, I mean, are you okay with waiting on him, or are you done with waiting, or do you have any opinion on that at all?
I obviously don't speak for all of
Right.
Steelers fans, but the majority that I have seen is people think they should just run with Mason Rudolph.
Mm.
They're paying him $4 million a year. Is he going to be as good as Aaron Rodgers? No. Does he have the injury history? Does he have the like not shutting up to the press disease? So I I don't hate the Aaron Rodgers thing as much as everybody else, but I mean,
Right.
I think if people thought Russell Wilson looked old, they're about to see some shit if they bring in Aaron Rodgers. Uh, if I was running the team, I would probably run with Mason Rudolph
Mm.
and try to get a quarterback next year in the draft. That draft looks better than 2025 for
Mm.
quarterbacks.
Right.
That is.
Right.
I've seen a
That's
lot of
what I would do. But what the hell do I know? I
I've
watch
seen a
bad
lot.
movies and get drunk on the internet.
I've seen a lot of Steeler fans say the same thing that you just did. They said basically go with Rudolph and try to get a quarterback either this year or next year. But I've seen a lot of fans say the same thing you just did.
That's basically where I'm at. He also has a good deep ball. He has zero mobility,
Mm.
but he has a good deep ball. He sees the field pretty well. He's got a cap, but I think the Steelers are trying to build a really good team so that when they do get that quarterback, honestly, it'd be like when Ben Roethlisberger came into the league.
Mm.
They already had a killer team. They just didn't have a quarterback.
Right.
And
Right.
once they drafted him, it was off to the races for 15 years. I think that's what they're trying to do now, but I don't know. Aaron Rodgers is a whole other thing, man. That's
a circus you don't normally associate with the Steelers.
No.
They're not known for that. I mean, because he's got his own the stuff he does on Pat McAfee, the weird shit that he goes down to Costa Rica and stuff like that. I mean, he's got some weird thoughts on a number of things. So it's usually the Steelers they tend to avoid that minus Antonio Brown, but I think that was after he got his massive concussion.
they usually cut those guys, or trade them, not bring them in.
Right,
So,
exactly. Were you surprised that they went and traded for DK Metcalf before you really settled the quarterback situation?
I woke up that morning and saw that news, and I was like, "What the hell? Like, what?" That was not on my radar at all. So, you know what? Whoever they have at quarterback is going to look a hell of a lot better having him and George Pickens, on
Right.
either end. So I think honestly, that's a case for holding on to somebody like Rudolph with a small salary because anybody's going to look decent with those two guys when you're throwing to them. So
Sure.
Right.
I think it'll cover some flaws. Yeah.
I made sure to make a point last year during one of our videos. I referenced you and your intro to Steven Seagal using the quotes like you rarely, man walks around with an air of confidence rarely seen in today. So I attached basically that Daniel Jones was the Steven Seagal of NFL quarterbacks. I mean, here's a guy, he gets paid a lot of money, he produces shit. It's embarrassing by the time you're done, and you go and you watch the whole thing and you go, why the hell did I watch that? That's essentially a Steven Seagal movie in a nutshell. The only thing we were missing were strippers. That was really it. I mean, that was so thank you for me to be able to steal that. But yeah, we've had some rough times, man. Rough times.
Did he end up signing with anybody?
Yeah,
Indianapolis.
The Colts tweeted out, since this is their movie reference, when the Colts signed him, they tweeted out, he's our Indiana Jones. So good luck with that.
Yeah, they meant the Crystal Skull, not any of the other movies.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They went from Danny Dimes to Indiana Jones. So I told my wife that. She goes, why would they sign him? And she said, it's a backup, right? I said, no, he's going to be competing for the starting job. She said, him? And I told her the Indiana Jones thing. And she said, well, good luck with that. That's what she said. So,
wow. I don't know what's worse, the fact that you do sign Daniel Jones to that, or if you're Anthony Richardson going, God, how bad do I suck that they just went and signed Daniel Jones and we're going to be competing for the job. But yeah, Daniel Jones did get a job. So it's there you go. It was surprising in the offseason. Steelers, long history, multiple Super Bowls. The Giants, not so much recently in terms of success, but as a longtime franchise. Two teams going in, basically no quarterback coming into this and still just going along. I mean, I know you would like to just roll with Rudolph. It's still sounding like it's going to be Rodgers. In fact, Rodgers was throwing, I believe, was it with Pickens or with DK Metcalf? One of those guys.
Yeah.
Metcalf over the weekend. Yeah, so over the weekend.
Okay. That's pretty telling.
Yeah, you would think. So is there a point though where as a fan you go, you know what, if it drags past April, gets into May, and he still is kind of not decided, you just kind of go, why the hell would we even want this guy at this point?
Yeah. Not even as a fan, as the organization. Like, what the hell's taking so long? You're getting into, getting close to training camp and, all the mandatory practices and stuff, and he's not there. Didn't that happen with the Jets when he first got there? He missed a bunch of early stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. He didn't go to the mini camp stuff. He kind of, after they wooed him, dined him, they basically gave him keys to the city. Robert Saleh kissed him in the ear, told him he was great, and then he didn't show up for the mini camps. That's always inspiring to your teammates.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell the deal is. But I am actually curious, just
sure.
From looking across the league, I do wonder, because passing has been coming down a little bit, and it feels like teams are starting to prioritize the running game again. If some of these crazy quarterback contracts, if teams are going to be looking at, do we try to run the ball more and pay just somebody $20-30 million a year instead of 60, and see if we can do it that, dominate the line of scrimmage, time of possession, and see if we can do it that way. I don't know. We're going to see.
So this year, you're going to be missing Najee Harris, who went to the Chargers. He did seem to be declining slightly for whatever reason. That might have been a combination of the Steelers line having some issues, and they're trying to beef that up a little bit. But I don't know. Is Warren gone as well? I mean,
no, he's still there. Yeah, they gave him a second round tender, I believe. So
you have seemingly a hole to fill at running back. Anybody? I know you didn't say you were a football expert, but anybody you're kind of like, I'd like to see them get that guy.
Well, they really like Warren a lot. Honestly, the biggest problem is I don't want to say he has fumbleitis, but he fumbles a little more. Like Najee Harris never fumbled, ever. And he was crazy durable. He didn't get hurt. I don't think he ever missed a game for the Steelers in 4 years, which for a running back is pretty crazy. So I don't know if they view Warren as like the bell cow kind of back, but they definitely like him. So I think anyone they bring in would at most split carries with him. So I don't know if they're looking at the draft. They probably are. But if not, it wouldn't surprise me if they got like a J.K. Dobbins type, somebody who has an injury history, but who they're not relying on to be the guy, but who can still play. I'm kind of expecting that, but I guess it depends on the draft.
Interesting. So I'm going to switch real quick to movies and football because I'm going to ask you. I'm going to put you on the spot slightly because this is your wheelhouse.
Okay. I don't have a beer though, so my memory's not going to be as good.
All right, but just in case, I am drinking from the Munkel Brewing Company, Bruges City Brewing Belgian Brown Ale. So that's what I'm having tonight. So yes, you guys get the best. By the way, before I even ask you that other question, since I've talked about beer, people send you beer. Like, how often when you go to the mailbox, you go to the post office box, you get
that was all sent to me last month.
Wow.
That's not even all of it. There's like another 2 cases on the floor here.
What are we doing wrong?
Yeah, but I don't know if I want. I mean, yeah, we'll get to that. But you literally, it's amazing to me. You definitely have a core set of fans. They send you a lot, and it's a very big variety of beers. So just kudos. We'll come back to that because I was on that one question I want to ask you about that. So I'm going to keep you to B movies, but with football.
All right.
Jim Brown, Carl Weathers, Brian Bosworth. Of those, which one are you going to set aside? If you're going to show some people and say, I got to show you a bad B movie, which one of those football players is going to be in that bad B movie?
Oh, just off the top of my head, I would probably say Brian Bosworth because he made that movie Stone Cold, which is like cocaine glory at its best. That movie is something, man.
That is awesome. I kind of thought that's the direction you would go in. I wasn't sure. Carl Weathers with Action Jackson, and you always bring it up. Like, who would want to train with Craig T. Nelson, who's going to break your arm in training? But yeah, that's kind of where I thought you would go with that one. But that's
before we get off the subject of beer too, I want to mention. So again, I've just only been watching your channel for the last couple of days. I've been binge watching a little bit to get ready for this. And one of the things that just caused me to laugh out loud from the beginning was your sponsor, at least on the videos that I was watching, was a probiotic for people who drink
too much. Yes.
Yeah, Z-Biotics.
Yes.
And I'm like, all right. Now I know what kind of channel I'm watching here.
They're
great.
If they're not our longest sponsor we've had, they're up there, top 2. They've been around for a couple years now. They know our audience.
Well, I like the way Aaron talked about it because I guess you guys were like going to Vegas for a birthday party or something, and you were like, this came in really handy.
Yeah.
Especially with, I guess Dave was in and out in a day or whatever. He cracks me up. My wife loves Dave. I'm more of a you and Aaron, Brian, and Dave's my other guy. My wife just loves Dave. She loves Aaron. But yeah, it's pretty funny that's perfectly fits for you guys. There was a beer, I can't remember. I'm going to say, I think Totes sent it to you, but it wasn't really a beer. It was like a little bit more than a beer, but you guys didn't really realize that until Aaron took a chug of it and was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Snake Venom, I think it was called. 74% alcohol.
Just the reaction when you guys took the drink. I'm like, yeah, you did not know that ahead of time. That was legit real. Yeah.
It was disgusting, and it was so strong. Had I thrown it on the wall behind me, the paint would have started to peel off the wall. It was no joke. So he actually sent us another bottle we have down there, but I haven't opened it on an episode yet because the last time everybody got. So we always do 2 episodes in a row.
Yeah.
And when that first one ended, because we all drank that bottle, everybody was pretty shit-faced for the second episode, and I ended up not releasing it because I was like, nah. This is too bad. So,
well, I was going to ask you that. So when you do marathons, like I started again, I just started it. I didn't go through it. Your Beastmaster marathon. Do you do all that in one night? Is that
that's one day. We usually start the marathons around 10 or 11 in the morning, and depending on how many movies it is, we go. Beastmaster was 4 movies. Yeah, 4 movies.
I believe so. Yeah.
Now, how did you go this long in being aware of WTBS and never have seen Beastmaster, the first one?
I remembered it always being on, but I don't think I ever sat and watched it because I didn't remember a frame of the movie. So
yeah, I was getting a kick out of you guys reacting to it for the first time because it's one of those movies. Again, most people are aware of as sort of like the discount version of Conan the Barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you watch it. So I got a kick out of you watching that, and I got a real big kick out of you guys watching a movie that sort of a guilty pleasure movie of mine, but you guys hated it.
Here we go. Here we go.
I was like, damn it, I like these guys until this point. And your wife was in this one. And your wife's great, by the way. I thought because I was watching one recent ones where she wasn't in. But see if you can get this. I don't mean to put
Toxic Avenger.
But you said
no.
Said it
That's
was,
it. But I love how you hate that though.
you said it was more like a kid's movie. It was really boring, and it was more like the Goonies. Do you remember what you were? It was about a year ago.
Howard the Duck?
No. It was Remo Williams.
Remo Williams.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know why, and a lot of people, my wife hates it, but I love that movie. And maybe it's like you guys were talking about, it was a nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
But so I was like, again, I had it on in the background today, and you guys were like, this is boring. I'm like, boring? That's not a boring.
It felt like a kid's movie to me. It really did.
Yeah.
So for a bunch of fat old 40-year-olds watching it, we're like,
well, or a little bit older than that, but that's okay. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid watching it. When you guys did it, now I'm going, oh, God damn it. Why didn't I notice this? Why didn't I notice that when I was a kid? I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, whatever. But
so you have people sending you both the beer and the movies because it sounds like they actually mail you the Blu-ray or the DVDs.
Yep.
Laser dicks.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I was actually right before I joined, I was adding movies. We have a database of everything we sent, and I was just adding. Here's the one I just added last, Mountain Man on VHS.
Nice. Oh,
that,
VHS.
Nate sent us. So yeah, I don't know how many movies we have now. 4,200, 4,300 that people have sent in.
You've got those two walls, basically, those two walls of videos. I thought I loved the entrance the other day. I'm trying to remember. I think it was on the David Keith, Robert Hayes one. You got Aaron and Brian, they're looking for stuff. And then Dave comes into the Stone Cold stuff wearing is that the Hulk smash glove that he had on?
It's Fisto from He-Man.
Oh, Fisto from He-Man. Okay. Yeah. Nice. That was good. But yeah, the amount of movies that people send you, and yet they continue to find more.
Yep.
It's crazy to me just how many they do and how many you guys done. How did you get started in that, by the way? Like, what led you to want to just go that route?
To start the channel?
Yeah. To get to do bad movies, like, you and it was you and Brian that started it.
Yeah, I started watching bad movies in high school. I'd actually found one called Rock and Roll Nightmare, which is still one of my favorites. Nice. The movie is the end is one of the greatest endings in cinematic history. If you haven't seen it, check out Rock and Roll Nightmare. You will not be disappointed. I found that when I was maybe 13 I was at a big ass flea market, and this guy was selling VHS tapes for $0.25, and that was one of them. I bought it because I was really getting into horror films at the time, and went home, put it on. I got like 10 minutes, and I'm like, this is a piece of shit. Took it out and didn't even think about it again for years. And I got into Monster Vision with Joe Bob Briggs. It used to be on TNT in the 90s. And he would show two movies usually. And the first one was often like a decent movie, Night of the Living Dead, something like that. And then often the second one would be The Howling 7, something like that. And I started appreciating these bad movies because of the way he talked about them. And I was like, oh, that is funny. Like, I am digging that. So probably when I was 16 or 17, I got that Rock and Roll Nightmare tape back out, and me and my buddy watched it. And we thought it was like the funniest shit we had ever seen in our lives. So I ended up taking that tape to college, and I would show everybody Rock and Roll Nightmare. We'd have like a couple beers, and just everybody would talk about it. We'd be laughing. And then I started getting into like Sci-Fi Channel movies, because back then it was before Sharknado. They weren't intentionally bad. They were just bad.
They were just bad.
Yeah. So we would laugh at those, and it started just becoming a thing. And then, I became an adult and got a job and all that boring shit in my 20s. And towards my late 20s, I started getting into it more when I started hanging out with Brian. And he and I just thought it was funny. He and I talking about the movies. And I thought maybe we should do a show about this. And we did, I don't know how many episodes in the old format where we would talk about it. And we're both horrific actors. We're terrible at presenting things. So that did not work well. And everybody in the comments would say, the funniest part is you guys sitting in the chair watching it live. Like, your initial reaction is funnier than your analysis.
Right.
So then I changed the format up and decided I was going to give it a real good run and start trying to crank out episodes after COVID. And the Steven Seagal thing kind of took off. We were pretty early into that trend of making fun of Seagal on YouTube, and just kind of right place at the right time. And I want to say maybe 8 months after I started really trying to do a lot of episodes, like one a week, I think I went full time on it. I put my writing aside for a while to try to see if I could make this YouTube thing work, and it happened. And now I have an entire basement full of the shittiest movies anybody's heard of.
Yeah, and you said writing. I want to make sure we include that because you've written a number of novels. So I'm not going to pretend that I knew that ahead of time. Obviously, I looked it up because I knew you were an author, but I looked up. But you've written way more than I thought. You have entire series. Is it Asher Benson, I believe, and the other one is the Hunger Books, and you have there's at least 6 of those.
Yeah, there's 6 novels in that series.
Now, do you still, I know you said you kind of put it aside. Are you now kind of back doing a little of both, or is the channels really kind of taking the bulk of your time up?
I want to get back to it because I do miss writing. And honestly, now that my audience is so much bigger, my next release will probably do pretty well. So I would like to get back to that. And I have a ton of ideas I want to do, but the problem is right now I have so many projects going that as soon as one finishes, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start my next book. And then I had to start on the next project for So Bad It's Good. So I can't even announce a lot of what we're working on. It's going to be really freaking cool, but some of it's taking like 8 months to put together, a year to put together.
Wow.
And then I had to take a month off. Actually, it was like 5 weeks. I was in Germany 2 summers ago, helping with a movie that took a ton of time. So I really do want to get back into writing, but it's been on the back burner. This makes way more money for us than my writing did. And I was a full-time author, so it wasn't like things weren't selling, but I just
Sure.
YouTube's, unless you're a big name author and you're getting books in airports, YouTube is a much bigger pie to try to dig into. So
Now, speaking of the movie, that was, I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, that's The Last Kumite, correct? You were
Yep.
working, and that's one that you pretty much put together. You were, if not, it wasn't just your film. You were a very large part of it. For folks who don't know, because you have a love of the 80s action, especially canon films, but a lot of the martial arts stuff. You got to know Cynthia Rothrock, which I think is amazing. Matthias,
I still talk to her every now and then, which still it blows my mind.
That's amazing. She was so awesome back in the day. And when I saw that, when I saw her sitting with you, and the way she joked around was like, "Yeah, that was probably not very good."
She's super cool,
super, just down to earth. But so you decided I'm going to do an old school 80s 90s type martial arts film, The Last Kumite.
So Sean David put that movie together. He's another YouTuber. Has a Basketball Time Machine. It's a big channel. I think he's still doing it. I haven't looked in a while, but he wanted to do this movie. He wrote the script. He put it together. That is his baby. He brought me on board to help raise money for the Kickstarter, knowing that the audience we have on YouTube would very much be interested
Sure.
in an old school martial arts movie. So I have an associate producer credit because I helped raise money. I was on set every day. I went over to Germany. I stayed there for about 5 weeks. But creatively, I had nothing to do with it. I didn't write the script. I didn't influence anything on screen. I just was behind the scenes stuff trying to help him out. He really helped me out when my channel was just taking off. He helped me get on to figure out how to do sponsorships and stuff like that. So I really wanted to pay him back and help him put together his movie.
But that's gotta be pretty cool to say that you were a producer on a film, though. That's gotta be
very cool.
Yeah, it's very
cool. Yeah, I don't want to take any credit or blame.
No, sure.
I did not have anything to do with it
No.
creatively, but it was an amazing experience. But it was funny because when I was going on set the first day with Sean, I was like, it's going to be interesting to see if these actors kick the shit out of me, if they recognize me, like what's the deal here?
Right.
But everybody was super cool. Only Matthias knew me, and Mohammed Kisi recognized me, but that was it. Billy Blanks, had no idea. Cynthia didn't know who I was, so I didn't get scorpion kicked by Cynthia right away, so that was great.
Nice. You didn't have to bring over like a picture or poster that Billy had to sign to bring back to Aaron.
Aaron got to meet him.
Oh, oh wow! All right.
She flew out to Germany while we were filming the actual Kumite. She was there for 3 days, and I kept telling Billy in the whole run up, my wife is going to completely embarrass herself when she meets you. And she had a horrible time getting over. It took her, I don't remember how many hours and flight cancellations and all this.
Wow.
She finally gets there. We're at the hotel where everybody's staying, and we're in the lobby and we're talking to some other people. And I saw Billy walk in behind her, and he saw me sitting there talking, and he pointed at her and he kind of mouthed like, "Is that her?" And I said, "Yeah." So he walked over and just tapped on her shoulder and introduced himself. She couldn't look at him. She couldn't speak. She completely embarrassed herself. It was great.
That's awesome.
Yes.
It's awesome.
But the next morning, she got to meet him and talk to him a little bit more. So he actually offered to train her at the gym
Wow.
one night, but I think it was the night she was flying out, so she didn't get to do it. But Billy Blanks would have taken her to the gym, which would have been incredible.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you mentioned Matthias because you talk about him all the time. How cool was that? The guy that you saw in a bunch of movies. You guys really, as on your channel, you just love his. He's the guy who comes in every single time. He looks better than most of the other people that are in it. You know, he could probably kick most of their asses, but he ultimately ends up losing at the end. It's kind of like, you got to meet him, and I saw what he was with you and stuff. He just comes off as such a cool guy. Like he seemed really interested in stuff. What was it like actually meeting him in person?
I love Matthias. Like he is the best guy. And for a man who's that big and that good look, like he's like 6'5" and he's huge.
Yeah.
I'm 6'3", so like I'm not that much shorter than him eye to eye, but his shoulders are like a foot and a half broader than mine. His hands are like catcher's mitts. So a man that size to be that nice and that gracious, I was surprised. But when I first met him, he was in a hotel lobby, and I was walking up, and he jumped up, having never met him, and he's just like, "Jason," and gave me a hug. He's the nicest guy, and he loves that we watch all these old movies. He gets a kick out of it, when crazy shit happens. He comments on the videos. He's a really, really cool dude. I interviewed him on the channel twice, and I think his personality comes through well. Like he's just a fun guy. Like I really like Matthias.
Have you ever had an interaction with somebody from a bad movie who was not happy about the fact that the way you guys presented it, or maybe like one of the directors or something?
I don't think so. Now, they probably just aren't commenting on the video. They're just cursing my name.
It's like a poster up with the darts in it.
But honestly, most of the time when we watch these movies, we're just having a good time with it. We love these movies and we like highlighting them. The only person I feel like we're actually shitty to is Steven Seagal, because I think he's garbage. Yeah, he deserves all of it. So my disdain for his movies is also my disdain for him. So everybody else, like I'm not mad at somebody because they made a bad movie 40 years ago. I'm getting a kick out of it and I'm promoting it, and hopefully they get some sales. And so everybody's been cool. We did have one director leave a comment on the video, and when I pinned it so that people could see it, he deleted it. So I don't know why. I don't know if he's shy or something, but that was like the worst one, and that's nothing. So everybody's been cool.
See, it's funny that you said that about Steven Seagal, because remember, I'm coming to your channel with somebody who knows very little about it. So Johnson, you got to try. Like 2 days ago, he sent me the link. He says you got to go through these. First thing that comes up was the category Steven Seagal movies, and I said to my wife, I said, "Who the fuck likes Steven Seagal?" He said, "These guys must really love him." I said, "Who likes them?"
No.
So I didn't even watch I haven't even watched your take on any of those movies, because I thought you were going to say the opposite. I thought you were going to say you really liked this movie.
Oh no, we are merciless
in
those videos.
Okay.
You're like, yeah, usually it's like, oh man, look how big. Oh, they're playing with the aspect ratio. Look at his head looks like a hot dog.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about how fat he is all the time.
Like, the fat guy lighting on his eyes.
Well, it wasn't Special Ops. I mean, it was the one that we put on, and it was like, oh my God, he got really big. I didn't realize he got that big. So
it's insane. He actually fights sitting down in multiple movies. He doesn't even get up. It's really insane.
The fact that they try to get away, and Sniper Ops, my favorite is when they go up the stairs and he's carrying the guy on his shoulder. You're like, yeah, that fat ass isn't going up and down those stairs. He's not carrying anybody. The stunt double has got to be like $185. Seagal's like 310 in this movie, and I might be being generous. He had the flak vest that was on, and you're like, how does he even cover a quarter of his back?
Yeah, he is really big now. He's a big guy anyway. Like he's
Yeah.
tall. He's a big
Yeah.
guy, but I don't know how much he weighs now, but it is way north of 300 pounds. It is. He's a big dude.
Were you surprised at just how many views that video got in the millions of views?
Yeah, that's our most viewed one by a lot. I think our next one's
Wow.
maybe close to 1 million. I think our not 100% because I don't really check like our old videos much, but I think the Neil Breen marathon we did is maybe our second most popular one. But yeah, that Seagal one popped off. I did not expect that at all. We'd already done, I don't know, 2 or 3 Seagal movies at that point, and when I released that one, and it just went. It still does like a close to 1,000 views a week, and it's 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah, I'm probably guilty of watching it at least once or twice. I run your so I'll admit I'm kind of a fanboy about this kind of stuff. I get how you like if you pick a show and it becomes background noise when you're doing other stuff, so you'll put it on.
Oh, yeah.
So I used to put The Office on, and I've run through The Office multiple times, or I'll put Parks and Rec on. Now it's so bad it's good. My wife will be like, "Didn't you watch that one?" I go, "Watch it. I've watched it probably like 10 times." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "I know I've seen that Seagal one before." But I'll just let it run because I'm like, I love this. I love the interaction with you guys and just some of the commentary and how quick-witted it is. And I know you're cutting it after the fact to fit it in, but you're not changing any of what was done. That's all what was recorded as it happened. So it's really cool to see the interaction with you guys. What's it like working? So you were doing it with Brian, you were doing it with Dave, but now then Aaron got involved. So what's it like having Aaron on? My favorite is when you guys do the Andy Sidaris movies. Those are the ones my wife loves as well, which is pretty hysterical.
Yeah, that's actually a running gag. I now only do the Sidaris movies because they're basically just like tits and guns.
Right.
But now I only watch them when it's just my wife and I because I think people get a kick out of me picking like the ultimate dude movies and then making my wife watch them. Bringing her on actually helped our viewership with women a lot. Our viewership was like 99.7% men.
Yeah.
And now it's like 93% men. It's still really bad, but it's like way, way, way better. So we get a ton of comments about people saying, "Oh, my wife now watches it with me because Aaron's on." And if she's not on, they don't.
I think she adds to the show. Again, I've only seen a few episodes, but I thought John told me before we got on that I think you said this, that she didn't you do the old ones, that she wasn't on.
Right. She wasn't on the old ones.
So,
Yeah.
but I thought she adds a lot. And maybe I'm watching the wrong videos, but she seems a little squeamish about some of the things. So she's like, "Oh, I don't want to, So,
Yeah.
I think that adds
That's funny
something to the show. So,
Yeah, I totally agree. It adds a woman's perspective to just a bunch of drunk guys,
yeah.
ogling
Right.
boobs in a movie. Then she can come on and talk about like, whatever the clothing is. She hasn't done that in a while, but that used to be a running gag. She'd always comment on the women's clothing.
Right.
We were like, "Who gives a shit?"
And
Look
the
at her
cat
boobs.
and the Cat Sassoon chick with her hair. She's like, "Oh, sister, that hair is just going to get bigger and bigger in the
Yeah.
Philippines."
And did I catch this right? Because like John, I was doing other things and I had it on in the background when I was watching the Beastmaster marathon. But did I catch this right when first of all, you and is it Dave? Was Dave the
Dave
one?
did I believe Dave did the
Yeah.
Beastmasters.
Yeah,
Yes.
You
Dave
guys
is the
were-
one who does the marathons.
Well, when the actress came on, you were like, "Wow, she's something." And I guess there was a scene where there was a nude scene, but her face was covering up. I think it was her face. Your
Yeah,
wife,
it's Aaron's face. Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
So so I thought I caught that out of the corner of my eye. I said, "Did I just see like a person's head there?" And so so I take it that's what you guys do too when you get to those kinds of scenes. You block them like that.
I don't know when I started doing this, maybe 6 months ago or a year ago. I found this great still shot of Aaron from an episode looking at the camera with that stern look on her face.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? I'm going to use that image anytime there's a naked woman and put her face over it so that the audience is getting that look from her when they're trying to look at the woman's boobs.
Right, scowling.
Yeah.
This is not appropriate.
Yeah, so it's just become like this running thing I've been doing. I don't know why I started.
I think
doing
it's
that.
funny. I think
It's funny.
Fantastic. Yeah.
You mentioned Aaron being squeamish. So I'm going to bring up this one in particular. You guys are watching The Stabilizer, and there was that scene out of nowhere where that dude starts eating the lizard. And you were like, "Oh, it's fine." And all of a sudden you're like, "Oh my God." And you were like, "Oh," and then there was intestines. I thought Aaron was going to die at that point. I mean, I thought she was checking out. You were like, "I'm so sorry."
Yeah. So that was filmed in the Philippines, and any movie we've seen that was shot in the Philippines is out of control crazy.
Hmm.
And there was a dude in this movie who twice eats a lizard while it's alive on screen. He just starts eating a lizard. And the first time she was really upset. And then the second time he starts doing it again. And what had happened is he had bit its head off in the first shot and when she turned away. And it cut away to something else. And that's why we're like, oh, it's okay, it's over. And then right when she looked back, it cut back to that dude like pulling the body away. And it was just like insides just stretching. And it was brutal. And she was very upset.
Oh.
It was the worst timing ever.
I think her quote was, "There's a quick kill, and then there's being an asshole."
Yeah, he started eating the one lizard like at the stomach. It was like ridiculous.
Yeah, that was pretty messed up. But that was funny. I mean, just the natural reaction, and you were just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and then to see that, and that's the stabilizer. It's kind of funny too. It is very much Samurai Cop from the Philippines. The music, some of the guys were in. I mean, there's like, it's just crazy the way they do it, the way it was done. The music's the same. You mentioned it right from the beginning. I caught that same vibe. I'm like, holy crap, this is like Samurai Cop just in the Philippines.
That movie is really bad and really awesome. Like it's stuntmen getting hurt. The dubbing is horrific. The guy was really trying to look like Sylvester Stallone.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a wild movie.
And that's the one that the person who sent you the movie sent you the picture, but told you to watch the movie first before you open it up. That was pretty cool. How the hell they put all that together? So just what lengths do fans go for you? Like, have you ever gotten anything crazy in a mail where you're like, holy shit, why did somebody send that to us?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, all the time. We get weird stuff. Not too often is it strange, but there was a phase where it looked like people were kind of emptying their closets and just sending it to us. And I'm like, I don't need your old shirts. I'm good with that. Normally, we get a lot of movie memorabilia. I'm trying to see, do I have anything here from this month? Nothing on hand. But you mentioned Totes before. He sent us a ton of movies. He sent Aaron a hand link from Quantum Leap. Have you guys seen Quantum Leap?
Oh, sure.
Yes.
His partner Al, the hologram guy, had that block of, it looked like a block of Legos that lit up. Mm-hmm. He had a replica made of it that makes all the sounds and lights up.
Oh, wow.
And sent it. That was like an amazing gift. People sent us samurai swords with nunchucks because we watch all these ninja movies. So I have throwing stars now. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with them, but I have throwing stars.
Nice.
So, yeah, we get cool stuff.
I could never bring up like bad movies with him because he's seen movies 10 times worse than anything that I would bring up. I do have a question on this though. So when you were doing one of the other movies, you made a reference to, I think it was to your wife, don't get me started on Game of Thrones. And I don't know what that was about, but do you ever get the urge to sort of break off a little bit sometimes and critique sort of mainstream movies and TV shows and things along that nature, or just stick with your genre, really?
Well, I do mainstream horror and stuff on my incredibly unpopular other podcast, Final Guys.
Okay.
But I do have an idea for more mainstream stuff that we'll do in the future on my main channel.
Mm-hmm.
But it's probably going to be a year till we get to that.
Okay.
It'll be a different show, but on that same channel. Yeah, I like the bad movie thing, to be honest. It's fun. Yeah. It's unique. It does limit the growth of the channel because nobody is searching for, let's see, let's pick a random movie here. No one is searching YouTube for Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD. You know what I mean? So I'm not getting just natural views from the algorithm from people searching for this.
Well, you may get somebody searching like for an Invasion USA like me. So
yeah, so nice. The Chuck Norris movies do better. The Seagal movies do better. Van Damme movies do better. And I like all of those, but I really like finding obscure stuff that like 8 people have seen.
Yeah.
And then putting it up here and be like, look at this movie. This is super entertaining and wild.
Yeah.
So it does stunt the growth of the channel, which is why I would like to do another show. It'll probably still be bad movies. It'll probably be like really popular bad movies, something like that. But, you know, I do enjoy watching good movies too, and I don't get to do it as much anymore. But, you know, small price to pay to have my empire of shit.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So, but real quick though, since Eric brought it up, the thing about Game of Thrones, I'm going to assume, you can tell me I'm way off base, but based on things you say in all of the bad movies, the thing you hate the most is bad writing. And the last season of Game of Thrones seemed like it was hastily thrown together, written written to the point of like, oh, look, we found the magic key that solves everything. We'll just stab the Night King and everything is just over. Like, what the hell did we build up for 7 seasons for? Was it the bad writing or just got sloppy? I mean, what really, truly, because we're Game of Thrones fans, and I felt season 8 was like, what the hell just happened?
So I should mention, I love bad writing when I'm trying to watch a bad movie because it makes me laugh. But when I'm trying to watch something good and the writing is shit, it drives me crazy because that's the easiest thing to fix. You can do all that before production, before any money's spent. You can get people to work on the script and make this not a piece of shit. And Game of Thrones went from my favorite show I've probably ever seen. I was so invested in it. And then the drop off in the last season, even into the season before, but that last season was so goddamn bad. And the end was so unsatisfying that now anytime anybody mentions it, I'm like, shut up. That show does not exist to me.
That's what I wondered, because I heard you make that reference and it was almost like, don't get me started. And I'm thinking, he's talking about the lazy writing.
I will rant forever about the end of that show.
Well, again, I'm not going to tell you how to do your business, but I bet you if you did stuff like that, even on your channel, people would listen to it too, because you seem to know what you're talking about. So I bet I bet you get some people looking up your take on Game of Thrones, for instance, just as one example.
Well, I've written 15 bad novels, so I understand bad writing. So nobody can talk about it better than me.
Well, you know, it's not the equivalent of like, where's Becky? She's taking a shit. But you know, one of my favorite lines from Birdemic. One of the worst goddamn movies ever. But it's so funny. I mean, the main actor, he looked like he was a human clone, and no one actually showed him how to walk minus 5 minutes before they said start to go. Just kind of walk, and he didn't know what the hell walking was. But
we don't want to keep you, but I do have one quick question, because I was looking at your whole channel, and because I wanted to see what movies you did, so I went into the video section and tried to scroll down to the very beginning, and maybe I passed some movies, but it seemed like that you've done a ton of movies. And it went back 9 years, but there seemed to be a big gap. Did some of your movies disappear from your library? Because there seems to be a gap in the years. Because I was looking for Delta Force, for instance, and John is convinced you did Delta Force, but I couldn't find it on your.
We did Missing in Action, not Delta Force.
I saw Missing. I saw Missing. Okay,
my bad.
Delta Force. We're gonna do those as a marathon.
Okay,
hopefully soon. That's probably going to be our next marathon.
Okay, you got to do Delta Force if you do Chuck Norris. You got.
We've had a few episodes completely taken down. Not many, though. Maybe 2 or 3. One was the unreleased Fantastic Four movie from the 90s that I got a copyright strike for that. And the movie never came out. It's just...
Oh, that's weird. So maybe it was just me, because I was scrolling down fast, but it seemed like it went like year 1, year 2, year 3, and all of a sudden I was like in year 9. I'm like, wait, where's year 6, 7, and 8? So maybe it was just me.
No, there were big gaps.
Oh, there are big gaps.
Back in the day, it was hard to get Brian to record for, like, sometimes it'd be like 6 months before we could record, and then COVID hit and I couldn't get him to record for a long time. So that's actually why the others came on board, just so that I had somebody to record with every week, so that if he had like a business trip or something, Aaron and I could do it, or my buddy Dave could come, so that's why I ended up bringing more people on, so that I know I can be there. I don't have a regular job. So or Ben Roethlisberger, whatever. Yeah, or I could have Ben come in, whatever. No big deal. Everybody knows me.
Because I saw, like, back in year 9 you did Roadhouse. So I was like, Roadhouse.
It was our first episode. That was a shit show of an episode. That's so bad. Don't anybody go watch it.
Don't look at it. Okay.
Don't watch anything before like 50.
So not deep into the how do you do certain things, because I'm not asking this from a learning perspective, but we've done a couple things where we show just quick clips, and it's weird. Sometimes no issue whatsoever, even though they're similar clips. Next time, boom, copyright. How hard is that for you? How much do you have to manage around that to avoid that issue? And when you show the movie part, especially on YouTube, is there a limit to the amount of time that you can show? Because I know Patreon, you can show the whole thing, but on YouTube, you're kind of showing pieces of it throughout. Is there a limit on how much you can actually show before you get hit?
So what I do is less than 5 seconds of the movie that we're showing, either with us talking over it or just the movie, and then at least 3 seconds of just us in between clips. If I go over 5 seconds of the movie, I get flagged way, way, way more often.
Wow.
And if I have less than 3 seconds of us between clips, I get flagged way more often.
Wow, that's
that was
insane.
just trial and error over a long time of finding. Now, that doesn't always happen. What just got copyright claimed? Nightmare at Noon. Like, who the
Oh my
hell's
God.
even heard of that movie? That got copyright claimed, but they ended up, what's it called? Appealed it, and they let it go. But usually if I do that, like 9 out of 10 episodes, I don't have a problem with.
So the bulk of probably what you do is editing, right?
Yeah, I was gonna.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
on an average video, say 30 plus minutes, how much time does it take you to edit that?
Just the editing or doing the entire thing? Thumbnail, recording.
Well, yeah,
All right,
we should tell our audience too, because I didn't notice this until I went through this thing. So you, if I understand this, can tell me if I got this wrong. You have a sort of an abridged, edited, shorter version that's free to the public, and then you have sort of a membership only, sort of the full movie, which I haven't been able to access yet because I'm not a member. But I assume you sit down and you do the whole movie. Right.
So that is, I don't upload the movie with it because I don't have the rights to the movie.
Right.
But
No, I mean,
I put the whole hour and a half of us.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you can find it on streaming or you have your own copy, you can sync us up and watch the whole movie with us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I usually cut it down to like a half an hour, so there's still an hour of stuff in there. Sometimes it's just us sitting there listening to dialogue. Sometimes it's us saying horrible jokes that I don't think are gonna make YouTube happy.
Yeah, there's plenty of times where you guys are talking, you're like, yeah, this one's not getting monetized.
Yeah.
So
I've had to get a little heavy with the edits sometimes.
So for the fun, I mean, we've been on for a while, so I want to make sure for those who don't, because again,
I got time, you guys. I'm in no hurry.
We're a football show, so not everybody. I don't know what their likes are beyond this, so I don't know if they know. So where can people see you? I'm going to link it all in the description, but to let folks know where they can find all your work.
It's just the YouTube channel, Jason Brant, with no D. Everybody puts a D in my last name. It's just Brant. My books you can find on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you buy ebooks. Amazon's probably the easiest one. And my podcast, Final Guys, we go live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about the latest and greatest horror movies.
Oh, great.
Very nice. Now, you just did one of my all-time favorites from when I was a kid. And now looking back on it, I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe I liked it. Death Race 2000. Sylvester Stallone, David Beltneck Carradine. That's one of my favorite running gags you guys have. But how do you decide what you're going to do? Like that you did a Schwarzenegger one, which is why you decided, okay, now we'll do a Stallone one. How do you decide a movie that's been out for a while and you've like, we're going to do that one besides just randomly picking the ones off the shelf?
Well, I'm not just saying this to shill my Patreon, but we have a Discord server from my Patreon and YouTube members. And like every 2 weeks or so, I hop in and do a voice chat with everybody who can make it. And a lot of times at the end of that, just be like, hey, what do you guys want to see? And they might give me a genre or an actor or even a movie. Like that's how Nightmare at Noon came about, is people in there were trying to get me to watch it. So sometimes it's that. Sometimes I just think, you know what? I want to watch a Cynthia Rothrock movie. And I just go down and pick the first one. Sometimes it's random. We have a couple box sets that have like 10 movies on them. And 3 of the movies we've watched from them are incredible. So I'm like, I'm just picking one from that. And we're going to roll the dice and see what happens. So there's really no rhyme or reason to it. Lately, as in the past 5 or 6 episodes, I've been picking movies that are more popular and well known, because I need to I need to get the channel rolling more to make money for a project I'm trying to scroll some money away for. And doing the more popular stuff like Death Race 2000 is a very well-known movie. So that has been doing a lot better for us than, some alien blah, blah, blah that I picked that never even got a typical release, So in order to answer your question, I don't know how I pick movies. A lot of times it's just random. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question that you probably get asked a million times given your expertise in this. So what are the top 1, 2, or 3 scariest movies you've ever seen? I mean, what is your like all-time scariest movie?
Well, my favorite horror movie,
3 or 4.
My favorite horror movie ever is The Thing. Actually, am I wearing The Thing shirt?
Love The Thing. Oh, nice. There you go.
That's random as hell. The Thing is my favorite. I watch that pretty much every year. I like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1978 version with Donald
78.
Sutherland.
Don
Okay.
Sutherland,
Yeah,
Leonard
that's
Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy's in that as well.
yeah, that's a great movie. So a lot of that 80s stuff I love. Aliens, that's horror
Yeah.
action, but I
Yeah.
love Aliens. I think that movie's great. Uh, Predator's one of my favorite movies. I don't know how many times I've watched Predator, and I think it's a sneaky horror film because there's stuff in the middle when they're being
Right.
hunted and there's scary
Right.
Oh,
bodies
sure.
and everybody, remembers the guns and the oiled up muscle dudes. But
I ain't got time to bleed.
yeah,
I love that movie.
Yeah.
so
That's
stuff like that is
so the Exorcist did not make your list.
oh, I love The Exorcist. Yeah, I don't know if I'd put it in my top 3, but it's way up there.
Yeah, you grew up Catholic. Yes, Exorcist is damn scary. I'll just tell you that right now. My grandmother would tell stories when we were younger, like when you're like, we knew there was a girl in our neighborhood and she was possessed, and they had to. I'm like, well, Jesus, Grandma, I gotta go to sleep. What the hell? Yeah, the Exorcist scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, look at it now. Yeah, but when I was a kid, no, because my bedroom. So that scene in the beginning, The Exorcist, right? There's that long stairway up from the street. You're looking. Well, my bedroom would look out to the hall. If the door was open, there would be the stairway going down right across. So I kept looking and thinking, oh shit, that music in my head would be playing. I'm like, oh man, I keep my eyes on that stairway. Anyway, that's a.
Well, my
flashback.
wife has never seen The Thing, and so this may spur her.
Seriously?
Yeah, she's never seen it.
Oh,
So
dude.
yeah,
That's a great movie. I love it.
When a head sprouts legs, you gotta eat. That's a good movie. All right, so let's quickly just tie it back to football real quick. You're a Steelers fan. You don't really still know yet who ultimately is going to be your quarterback. You do at least have Mason Rudolph. Thoughts on this coming year? Steelers were a playoff team again last year. They're pretty consistent. Mike Tomlin. Another question to ask is: do you think he stays longer, or could this potentially be his last year there?
It's definitely not going to be his last year. Even if they bombed, it wouldn't be his last year. The Rooney family is all about consistency, for better or worse. They are about consistency. It's why the team. So I don't think people have realized the last 2, 3, 4 years, the Steelers have been rebuilding. It's just when other teams rebuild because they don't have consistency, they fire the whole staff, everything gets turned over. They end up going 2-14. Well, I guess it'd be 2-15 now. The Steelers don't have that. So
hey, no pointing fingers as Giant fans.
Hey,
the Steelers' bad years now are like 9-8, 10-7.
right.
But they get into the playoffs and get absolutely steamrolled by the really good teams who have a great roster. And the Steelers basically limp into the playoffs every year. This year, I expect the Steelers to limp into the playoffs and probably lose in the first round. But I think their roster is a little better than people who aren't Steelers fans may know. The Steelers had 3 of their 5 starting linemen out for the whole year last year from like the first or second week on.
Right.
So that's pretty tough to overcome when you're trying to be a run-first team and you have an old-ass quarterback.
Right.
So I think they're maybe a little better than people think, but not a lot. So, and their division is tough as hell.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Bengals and the Ravens, that's a tough division. The Browns are the Browns. They're going to completely screw themselves over in some epic way.
Well, that was part of the issue for the Steelers down the stretch, though. You played Baltimore twice, Kansas City, and the Eagles. I think the Bengals were in there too. But I mean, holy cow! Talk about
it was brutal.
A brutal schedule down the stretch.
Brutal.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Well, if you fire Mike Tomlin, we'll take him. So I don't think you will.
I hear that so much. The amount of Steelers fans I know who want Tomlin fired, and the amount of non-Steelers fans who are like, "We'll take him."
Yeah.
Steelers fans are very spoiled. Not having a losing season for as long as it's been. I don't even know what it's been now.
Oh yeah, I don't either. Yeah.
2005, I think. 2004 was the last losing season. And all the Super Bowl wins, they expect incredible things all the time. And in the NFL, it's just not reality.
You've had 3 coaches since like the 70s. I mean
60s, yeah.
60s, yeah, because
3.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So you get a lot of fans that want to just blow everything up and start over. And I'm like, you do not want to be the Browns. You don't want to be where the Colts
the
are.
Giants.
Yeah, where we are now. Yeah.
Steelers fans don't know how good they have it. To not tune in every week and expect a loss. That's I consider myself lucky in that regard. It gets frustrating sometimes, but I feel like I'm lucky that I know my team is not going to be total shit every year,
Hey,
Right.
hey.
Hey, I'm talking about the Browns, damn it.
Right. Well, still, it's interesting though. Two of your rivals, they have guys who apparently they have their issues with massage parlors. So I mean, maybe that will help bring
Yeah, I
bring
don't
the
know what's
teams
with the
down.
division and assaulting masseuses, but
Yeah, I'm like, there's one thing it was Deshaun Watson, but Justin Tucker, the kicker, settle down, buddy, settle down. You're
I
still
actually live outside of Baltimore, and that guy has been royalty here for a long time. Like that was crazy to hear.
Yeah.
now. You correct me if I'm wrong. You grew up in Pittsburgh or in the Pennsylvania area? Yes.
Yeah, Western
Yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Western.
There's
Okay.
nothing there, so anyone within 2 hours of Pittsburgh is from Pittsburgh. I was
Gotcha.
Right.
like an hour and a half outside of it. Yeah.
Nice. So with that, I guess what I'll do is I'm gonna link everything. You've been on for a while.
Thank you for
We'll
coming
wrap
on.
it.
This
My
was
God,
great.
I've had so
Thanks for
much
having
fun. I would be remiss. I will be killed if I don't do this. So forgive me. My daughter Nashima wants me to say that she says hello, loves your stuff because I watch it. She just sits there. She's like, you gotta have Jason Brant on. You gotta tell him I said hi. So I'm from Nashima. Hello, Jason. She loves your stuff, and we're big
Nishima?
fans. Nashima. So we are a very large blended family. My wife had 4 adopted daughters. I have 5 kids. We had 9 kids altogether as a blended family. Yep. So
Holy shit.
exactly.
I can barely take care of a dog. How are you doing it?
Three of them were surprise triplets. So that kind of added to the thing. So
Yeah.
What a
there's
nice
other
surprise.
stories that go with that. But anyway, that being
Well, hi,
said,
Nishima.
thank you. So, I'm going to link everything, all your stuff in the show. Of course, you got a shit ton of followers, but we're going to expose you to football fans who may not know. And just a huge thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
It's been a
this was
lot of
great.
fun. I'll catch up down the road, but I will certainly be watching your stuff. And anything exciting, any new episodes that you can say are coming up, or just check the channel and be prepared for it. Because Death Race 2000 just came out.
Yes, I just started editing Breaker. It's a Chuck Norris movie.
My God.
Yes. That'll be Thursday. And then we've recorded like 5 episodes, and I don't know what the hell the next one will be. So Breaker on Thursday.
Breaker is Chuck Norris's version of Convoy. There we go.
It's a crazy
that's not
70s
Convoy. So what are we talking about here?
It's basically about
the Chuck Norris film.
Yeah, there's like crime stuff, but it's all involving semi trucks and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of CB talk. That's the Breaker part.
He's in the truck for like 6 seconds in the movie, and the rest is him kicking the shit out of rednecks.
Well, if you're doing Delta Force Marathon, I'm watching that too.
Dude.
So.
Yeah, I'm hoping within a month or so we'll be able to record that. It's hard getting because it takes a whole Saturday.
Yeah,
to do it. So
there's a lot of drinking involved, a lot of probiotics.
It is a requirement for those. So I do appreciate you guys having me on. It was a lot of fun, and
it was awesome.
Apologize to your audience for having to hear me prattle on about bad movies.
No. That was my goal, is to mix it up a little bit. No, you were awesome. I do appreciate it. And real quick, one of your recent episodes, you talked about you kind of did some stuff that you are allergic to and you shouldn't have. You feeling better on all that?
Yeah. That was probably 5 weeks ago we recorded that episode, so I'm good now.
You're good now. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Utterly nuked my stomach.
And it wasn't alcohol.
No. I was trying to get in shape and go to the gym. I took a bunch of whey protein, and I'm allergic to whey protein, and it was like a month of my stomach being destroyed. It was good times.
Good time.
And your wife is a former trainer. She stopped being a trainer to work with you, basically. But
Yep.
that's what she does. She's pretty buff in a number of episodes. My wife always points out, she's like, man, she's got that line right at the vein up her bicep and stuff. I'm like, she's a former trainer. So
yeah, she's diesel. You can't tell because she's usually the furthest from the camera, but she's 6 feet tall. She's pretty jacked. She's in good shape.
And you yourself are like 6'3", so you guys are.
I'm 6'3" and fat as hell. So yeah.
Nice. Well, you could be 5'11" and still have the same problem. So there you go. So anyways, I appreciate you coming on, Jason. It's been awesome. I'm going to link all that. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, that was awesome. Jason was great. it's really nice of him to come on there. His channel is huge compared to us. His channel is huge. So to take the
Right.
time to come on, really cool about it. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, even, we got football in, we talked a decent amount of football, but just the movie stuff and the amount of work that goes into it is crazy, which we're much smaller, but I can tell you it's not. We do a lot of stuff and it's kind of simple, but if we got into the level of editing that they do, the things that they have to splice in, it's not easy as it is. And I try to take it as quickly as possible. I don't do a lot of extra stuff, but even with that little bit, it does take time. You're writing up the what you want it to be about. I've got to create the thumbnails usually of what it is, and
Right.
I've developed a little bit more and being able to get them, but it's a work in
Oh, we're
progress.
so below what they're doing now. It's like, I mean, you could tell the quality of his camera and
Sure.
his lighting
Oh
and
my
all
God,
that. I've got this like banner.
I got this giant light over
I've got
me
the
right now.
lighting is like horrible and the echo in here is
But-
terrible. People are always saying, Eric, your mic sucks. So maybe we'll get there.
We're getting there. But that was awesome. That was a lot of fun and glad to have them on and I kind of enjoyed that.
And just so our audience knows, and we won't keep this going longer, but we have non-football threads on BBI. So John and I were thinking occasionally we'll have non-football podcasts that we tie in with football a little bit. And, like we did today, we started off with football. Our guest may be a football fan and we'll talk to them about football. And I know John's actually been talking to some actors
Working on it. Working on
it. We don't know if we're gonna get them, but they get people's view of even if it's not the Giants. If we can get people that are Giants fans, that'd be great. So
yeah, it'd be better. But yeah, just trying to mix it up a little bit and expand it. We're just trying to add more pieces to it. It is Giant focused. And we got the draft coming up, and that's going to be a big deal. So we will be doing a live one. Eric and I will decide which day we're going to do it. It could very easily be tomorrow. I don't know. We haven't talked about it, but we will offline. But right now, Eric needs to go eat. I gotta go eat.
One last comment too, though. But it was interesting to get his take on Russell Wilson.
Yes,
so sort of confirmed what a lot of us thought. So not great, not bad. So we'll go from there.
Exactly. So like, subscribe, comment, really appreciate it. We're over 1,027 as I last checked subscribers. We're closing in, as we get going, we'll be pushing 80,000 total views. So we'll keep it going. But for now, we're going to close it out and we'll be back with another episode this week. It's going to be live. We just don't know which day yet, but we'll let you know shortly, and have a great night.